We are back with part 2 of our conversation with Sae Kani. I know you missed her. I did too. That's okay. Totally normal. Natural response. You can wipe away those tears and just open up your ears and open up your heart and let the words flow in and the thoughts flow throughout. Here she is from Japan, Sae Kani!
Knowing what is true for you, and you have your private moment, follow that truth in your body. If you want to burp, if you want to fart, if you want to scream and swear, do it in a place that doesn't hurt other people, right? And that is the truth of that moment, right? A lot of old men, they are shaking their legs in the train. We call it bimbo yusuri. It's like a poor man shaking, right? But I see it's very not polite in Japan. Right? So the children are agitating on the chair. They think, stop it. Sit still, right? But for me, when I say that, this man has a lot of adrenaline and cortisol in the body. That's why the legs start shaking and they don't even aware of that. Right? If you notice that and then doing it in the public or do it in a meeting and offend people, notice that you're stressed and do something about it. You release that energy in somewhere else in another moment, right? Like people are shaking on the stage. I always tell them that, okay, shake before you go into the stage. Then your body already discharged, you're ready to sing or ready to perform. Right? So if you know your body, if you understand your nervous system, what's going on, you can regulate it in a healthy way, not oppressing it. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Oh man, this is wild. What do you think about? I'm going in another direction here now. I know you're not like some technology expert, but a lot of the technologies that we've developed recently, I feel, are also playing a role in putting us in an overall sympathetic, fight, flight, stressed out state. And I guess we have to release ourselves from that somehow by, getting outside and stepping away from technology and doing all these movements that we've been talking about. But 2 technologies I want to ask you about, and if you have no thoughts on this, we can just skip it. But one is the smartphone. The smartphone we are looking at in a very short distance. It's angling our eyes inward. That's getting us into sort of this attack mode, this self-centered mode, myopic mode, where the phone is there and the cortisol's coming on, the adrenaline's pumping out, and we're like, okay, we're focused in. We're not zoomed out, And we're in these walls. We're in this house where the space is too small, especially in Japan too. So being trapped into these small spaces where our gaze, our eyes, because what our eyes see, that's going to inform our nervous system about whether we're safe or we're in danger. And when we're focused in on a tiny object like a phone, that's going to cause a bit of stress. And we might not know why, but it is. So there's that. And then on the other end of it, it's seeing, like you said, we have to see the social safe cues from other people, which is like the sound of their voice, their mouth, like kind of smiling, all these different things like that. And when pretty soon we will be getting, Apple just announced their augmented reality glasses. So there's 2 questions here, I'll remind you. The second one is a phone, and now with augmented reality glasses, or glasses in general, sunglasses, for example, will be hiding our eyes. So what happens, one, when we are like looking in at smartphones, and 2 is what is happening when we can't see each other's faces because of technology hiding their faces, even the mask, for example. But you can pick up any of those pieces and just talk about technology in general, but how is technology playing a role in all of this?
I think both are terrible. From our animalistic, sense. Those are terrible. Really. I wish I could live my life without phone. That's totally, I mean, one is a posture. Of course, you're watching your phone like this all the time, your neck and your shoulder.
Posture too, right? Yeah.
Posture, it's terrible, mobile phone. And another thing is, of course, whatever you're watching through your screen, it's not real in your 5 senses, right? whatever your five senses, well, five senses means you can feel in this moment, in this space, right? You're safe.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm in the middle of this beautiful countryside and nice flat, and I'm really relaxed. But then when I start reading about Ukraine, for example, I started to feel very angry, or, like I'm watching like a Palestine, whatever. I started feeling really angry. And for my nervous system, the threat is real. Your brain cannot distinguish what is really real and what's not real. Right? So as soon as you started feeling irritation, fear, anger, which means your brain judge it, it's real. The threat is now here. Right? So imagine that you're going through these stories and you keep activating your nervous system by reading horrible stories and then injustice and war and whatever. It's so bad. Why do we need to torture ourselves?
Yeah.
That is one thing.
Oh, even just movies and video games and everything. We're like,
yeah, killing and violent, and
we keep torturing ourselves, and we think it's just a game, it's just a movie, it's no big deal.
No, I'm totally against that. So if you have to watch, I use my phone, of course, my computer all the time for my work, and it's very unfortunate, but I try to avoid watch bad, horrible movies, violent movies. I skip through news. I don't have a TV at home. So I try not to expose myself as much as I can to these negative, violent movies, the motions, even stories. I don't need.
Yeah, because like while our brain might know the difference between reality and fiction, our body doesn't know the difference. So basically your body is experiencing that, and we already talked about what that does. So all these horror movies you're watching,
you're discharging hormones in your body from your adrenal gland.
Oh man, oh my god. Going back to about, you were talking about parenting and teaching and stuff. So the current education model and parenting model, like especially in the West, is totally divorced from all of this. It's like just maybe unaware of how our nervous systems develop and unaware of how we learn and how we grow and how we learn how to be proper functioning organisms. How can we? What can parents do, even if they are in Japan and they are in the U.S. and this is the way you parent? You do have to kind of just go your own way. You don't want to be a total weirdo and live your life like totally freely. We are tied to our culture because we are social animals. But what can a parent do, or what can a teacher do to help bring the child up into a more connected, safe social space so that they don't become traumatized, or they can just be a bit more free in that way?
Yeah, that's a huge question, right?
I know. I asked another guy that too, and he's the same thing. He's like, wow.
Yeah, I feel heartache because I have many clients who are parents, who are teachers, who are medical personnel, and I'm not there, but I feel the level of their stress, what they're going through every day through work. Well, not only Japan, but especially in Japan, overworked. That's it. Overworked. Like, stop and please, CEOs, please, companies, please, whoever, please, customers, allow people to take break. And it's okay if it's not so perfect, the service. For me, the Japanese perfection, it's scary.
Yeah.
Right? The customer service, the time, all this complete detailed perfectionism about the business operation.
It's almost like OCD or something. It's like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of like OCD or something where everything has to be perfect. And if you don't follow the rule in this way exactly, they're like, oh, no, I have to follow the rule. Like everything has to be perfect. And that bothers me too in Japan. Like, can't you have any, like there's a lack of flexibility. I'm not trying to complain, but it's very fascinating. What is going on where everything has to be perfect?
Completely agree.
And there's no ability to take risk. Also, so is that connected to trauma or anything at all too? Where there's sort of this low risk tolerance, this sort of black and white thinking, this sort of need for perfection, this sort of inflexibility.
It's cultural.
This is cultural,
It's
right? It's
cultural.
cultural,
It's
right?
a two sides of same coin. Why the Japanese products are so good, and
Yeah,
why Japanese, like art and everything is so perfect and is so precious. That is the other side of the coin. It's obsession and obsessive to
yeah,
perfection, right? So, all the tourists come from abroad and say, oh, Japan, fantastic, their services. Yeah, I agree. And I really enjoy that too when I come back from somewhere else. But I also know the other side of the coin is that the self-sacrifice in order to maintain this standard.
yeah,
And there is a lot of suicide. And there are a lot of sexless couples, for example,
yeah,
all these negative impact of the family
yeah.
and society.
Or the opposite coupleless sex. Like weird. Japan also has this. We don't need to get there, but Japan has a sort of uniquely weird underground sort of sex thing going on. It's like one of these big porn hubs and weird kind of sex kind of thing going on here. But you don't have to go there. But it's like that's another. What is happening? If you have any ideas, that
Yeah, it's a distortion.
yeah,
Yeah, but that's again, it's a distorted version of healthy sexuality. All this is because of this stress level,
yeah,
the work demand and perfection and the behavioral code that they impose on themselves, right? So I say, what your first question, what can parents do? I mean, this need to change in order for the father and mother to be able to relax. That is the most important thing. I was writing to some friends recently, like in Japan, the men don't help housework and women suffering so much, Yeah, but look at Scandinavia. The guy can leave 4 o'clock to pick up kids. No one complain about it. Man can have a 1 year maternity leaves. Man can have 1 year sabbatical to go to traveling around the world with a family with fully paid. Come on, you cannot compare men in those society in this society, right? First of all, the social structure has to change. We cannot just blame men not to be cooperative, or women to be this way. It's a society as a whole prioritizing productivity and rising income and money and capitalism that is creating this society. And then parents are under extreme pressure. Men has to go and work in one place, and then you know family don't travel together. The man is working in one country for 5 years, and then the wife and then kids are in Japan. This is abnormal in a normal sense as a family, right? But this become a norm. It's normal in Japan. So all of these has to change before we start telling individual what to do, right? Because their nervous system is up to here.
yeah.
I can only feel sorry. I cannot tell them you need to change this because it's up to here. I can only say breathe.
Yeah.
Right?
Try to relax. Try to yeah, put your own oxygen mask on first. It
Exactly.
also while you're talking about that, I had this idea because I've been working in Japan too, and I realized maybe it's because I'm a foreigner or just working in the wrong industries. I don't know, but I feel like there's sort of this fear of communication, of honest communication in the workplace too, where there might be some problems or inefficiencies where maybe honestly, like by the time it's 2 p.m. or 3 p.m., there's a lot of people just sort of sitting around and twiddling their thumbs and like yeah, they're working a lot. They want to make the products perfect and all that, but it's also like this fear of like what other people are thinking. And if some like nobody's speaking up and saying, hey, maybe we should change this part. Maybe this is not good. And because of the sort of that, it seems like some sort of fear of confrontation about bringing up the inefficiencies in the system that sort of basically cuts people off from honest sort of open communication. And as a result, the problem just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And everyone feels like this is not working, but they're too scared to like communicate and change. Is that just my experience, or is there something to that on a larger scale?
No, I think it's totally true. It's totally true. Yeah. The Japanese people have a difficulty communicating.
But it's still kind of dangerous, right? If it's kind of scary though. Like even me, like you, to talk to your boss and say, "Hey, I don't like this." Like you feel like he's gonna. I don't know, it just seems dangerous. You feel like he's gonna scream at you or attack you or something, and
Yeah,
or he's gonna fire you because you don't care about this company enough, so therefore you can find another company. So you feel like this fear like of losing your job if you don't do things the way that it is. And like I feel like in some other cultures you're able to kind of communicate, and not always, but there's more of that open dialogue going on where you're not going to get fired for criticizing things, or slowly laid off or whatever. And I feel like people are punished for sometimes uh, criticism here and in general. But I feel like that's a bit of a stress I think people are feeling too. This sort of I'm not happy with my work, but I gotta kind of deal with it because it's what it is, and I can't change my work.
yeah,
Um, I feel
yeah.
that a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially for foreigners living in Japan, that is one of the biggest stress factors, the communication, you know? Even you can speak reasonably good Japanese, this very subtle way of communication, the Japanese do so well, not me,
You
but the
can't do it.
Japanese do so well among themselves, you know? This way of communication is not new in Japan. This is the history, this is the culture of how they communicate with each other. So without outsider, this society somehow manage this way of communication. People know how to communicate their needs and
Oh,
somehow get what they want.
yeah,
But this subtlety is almost impossible for outsider to understand.
yeah,
I totally understand your stress because I'm the same, you know? I left Japan when I
yeah,
was 18, so I don't have this very sophisticated way of communicating in Japanese. And I'm
yeah.
very Western, educated, very open, direct speaker. So it's difficult for me. I understand. But, Japan is no longer like a unified community. We need to open up for also the diversity and outside culture. And of course, our population is declining. There is no way for Japan to survive without accepting more foreigners from outside. This way of communication is becoming more and more difficult for all of us to live together. I completely understand and I sympathize. My partner is foreigner also, and he lives in Japan for 17 years, and he still cannot get through this first layer, right? So I understand it's very, very stressful. Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, Japan has this sort of high context, this indirect kind of way of communication. That's not just Japan. That's in a lot of Asian countries, some of them, and the West tends to be more direct, and that's just cultural, I guess. But basically, within between Japanese people, is it actually effective? Are people able to somehow communicate things in this indirect way, and it's all secretly being sent, and I just can't see those signals? Is that what it is?
Yes, yes. Well, otherwise this
Uh,
this culture doesn't survive, right? Somehow they do it.
yeah,
And they are in the gray zone. It's not white and they're not in black. They're in the gray and they're different shade of gray. And they are moving from left gray to right gray and they communicate. Incredible. Incredible. For me also incredible. But they do. But a lot of them cannot do, especially more and more nowadays. Yeah. I mean, there are more and more people with developmental issues
yeah,
because of this, the modern society and nuclear families, and a lot of young adults are developing this issue of communication, right? We go back to our nervous system and the ventral vagal, culturally trained nervous system, right? So if the person brought up only with one mother in a very nuclear isolated setting, and imagine mother was wearing mask first 3 years of their childhood. How can this baby learn what other humans are communicating? It's impossible, right? And they go into school. They don't understand all these unspoken languages. So there are more and more younger people with this kind of problem. It's a developmental issue, they call it. They label them. But compared to the Japanese, or let's say 50 years ago, 70 years ago, 100 years ago, this new generation of Japanese, they certainly don't have this sense of understanding or feeling into unspoken language. It's a culturally embedded code. So yes, it's going to be more and more problems for sure.
Right, because with whatever language we're speaking, whether it's Japanese or English or whatever, we are basically speaking on this sort of this pre-human level, this nervous system level of facial movements and tone of voice and eye contact and all of that kind of stuff. And we're covering that up. We're blocking the signals not only with the mask, but also with we're communicating through the smartphones more. We are creating these barriers between each other. We're not having face-to-face contact, so that must be extra hard for especially Japanese people, because in the West, at least, we are so like literal with our words. Sometimes we're not great writers, but we can kind of communicate through text and through words because we're so literal. Like, this is what it is. But I'm just imagining if you grew up in a more high context culture where you need the bodily, like, nonverbal cues to communicate. It's more like nonverbal based here.
Yeah.
What kind of miscommunication and problems can arise when you're talking to people without them being there? You're in the virtual world, you're in virtual reality, you're on the computer, talking on the phone, not even the phone, you're text messaging. That seems like there's a lot of room for uh, conflict there and miscommunication and stuff.
That's why
Just,
we use so much emoji, right, in the text.
that makes so much sense. Yeah.
Because emoji, it's softening the verbal words that it's written there. If you say, I cannot come to see you tomorrow, without emoji, it sounds very blunt and cold. If they
Yeah.
put 3 or 4 different like kind of emoji there, soften it, right? So I used to just write a text because I come from Western kind of behavior. I just
Yeah.
want to keep my text short. I don't like writing like, oh, what a wonderful sunny day today, or all these seasonal references. Nothing like that. I just said, okay, by the way, I need this. Boom.
Yeah.
That someone told me
Yeah.
this is very rude,
Yeah. Don't do
right?
that.
Yeah, so I realized just the intentional softening is very needed for writing.
Yeah.
So that's why Japanese have this long seasonal commentary before they get into the main topic,
Yeah.
even in emails.
Yeah.
Right now it's a texting emoji. Also, you put like more emojis than actual words. And that is that part that Japanese.
Stamps, all these line stamps. For
Yeah,
example,
stamps.
if you use WhatsApp, for example, which is like one of the main things used in the West, or Messenger, people are mostly just sending like literally words, letters. But if you get into Line or even Kakao Talk in Korea, people might have like long conversations, where half of the messages are just these giant emojis, these intricate emojis. People buy them. I've bought them because they're so useful. I'll buy like these sets of these Snoopy stamps or Winnie the Pooh, like doing different things, and that communicates what I want to communicate, and it's actually pretty effective. But
Yeah,
you don't see that kind of communication in the West. I think it's maybe a good thing actually, but it's different.
it's very Japanese, or like just say thank you, but thank you with a little animal stamp, right? That makes
Yeah.
it even softer and more cute.
It might even be animated or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's showing the message: I'm not your enemy, right?
Yeah. I'm safe. You can approach me. I'm not gonna attack you.
Yeah, I'm not angry that you don't come and see me.
I'm not angry.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm on your team. We're on the same team.
yeah,
Yeah. I know. This is sort of turning into like a let's bash Japan episode. I didn't mean for it to be that. Japan's a great place. Like, everyone's coming here for obvious reasons. It's very peaceful. It's very relaxing. Great infrastructure. And every country has its own problems. And I don't want to sound like I'm being negative, and also I'm kind of pushing you in this other direction where it's not like what we're saying is necessarily true. This is your perspective. This is my perspective, but this is like a special chance for me. I've been here for 10 years or more, and I have all these questions about Japan. So I'm just going in this other direction here. Another reason why I can't ask these questions to people is like, if you ask a normal Japanese person these questions, they're gonna be very uncomfortable, and you don't want to make people uncomfortable. They're gonna think you're trying to attack them or attack their culture, or like sometimes they just don't want to think about it. They're not ready to think about it, and I can't do it. But I can ask you, so it's like this is fun for me. Another thing about Japan is this: it seems to have this very Yeah, sounds like I'm criticizing it, but it's just an interesting phenomenon. Very infantile, sort of juvenile kind of culture to it, where you see like people acting a bit more childish, people acting younger than their age. Even like if you're in a park and you're walking around the streets, you sometimes if you don't look closely, you don't even notice the difference between the salary man, the worker, and the high school students. They almost like blend in together. They're all wearing the same clothes, walking the same way, doing the same things. I'm thinking, it's almost like this big like Peter Pan land where people don't really grow up and they're kind of stuck in youth. I have this feeling, like I said, it's my perception. I might get like some weird like kind of uh, message from Spotify, hey, you can't say that or something. But uh, I don't know. But it's like really, I'm really curious. I feel like it's very youth based culture where youth and actually beyond that childhood is so like treasured here, and everyone sort of wants to. They're kind of trapped in childhood, so there's this Peter Pan thing going on. Even in the sexual realm, that's going on. Unfortunately, it's a bit too juvenile, where everyone's sort of pretending to be younger than they are, and they're fantasizing over this stuff. But even the way people just behave, like I said, like you're walking around, and these high school students don't appear to be much different than these 40-year-old men. Uh, it might just be my lack of understanding of the culture because I'm always going to be an alien, always on the outside. But that's how it looks to me. So, give me your ideas on that and what caused that. And
It's kind of moving away from trauma releasing.
I know, like we're gonna get back there. It's totally, but maybe it might be connected to trauma. Is it a traumatized kind of thing going on, like where we can't like move on from our certain states in our development, or is it just like that's just culture and like
Well, first of all, I agree with you. Okay.
okay, good.
I agree with you. Yes, I really wonder about that too. You know, why Japanese men always, well, okay, I wouldn't say Japanese men because men likes younger women in general, right? That's world phenomena. I wouldn't say only Japanese.
That's everywhere. That's even in the animal kingdom, probably too. We sort of we want partners who can give off healthy
Yeah,
offspring and take care of the young and all that. So it's just sort of
exactly.
biological too. It makes sense. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, biologically, younger women are more popular because they're more productive. Okay, that's one thing. And another thing is, of course, the media is very flattering young people. You know, young is good, old is bad. And that's a little bit like that in for example, Hollywood. But Hollywood is more like a sexualizing women, like glamorous kind of side. Japan is more like a how do you call it, this girl, a little bit.
Yeah. It's like more cute, not sexy.
Yeah, cute, sexy. It's
More
cute.
like a childish, not womanly.
Exactly. I mean, I'm Japanese woman, so I have my own bias here, right? But the Japanese men don't really like a very strong, independent personality of women because it's threatening,
Yeah.
right? So for them, it's a young girl with less knowledge, less experience, less challenging, are more welcome.
Right.
Well, quite simple, I think. So they know, the media know that tendency, so they reproduce those idols and then cartoons and all creating this very naive, unthreatening female personalities, but have a big bum and then big boobs. That's extra. They don't really want to sleep with a child, but they want a childish personality which is non-threatening but having a mature body.
Yeah.
I think that's that.
What's sort of the woman's perspective on all this? Do they like being? Because it seems like they're kind of being controlled or being sort of like led along, and they're just like these passive uh, creatures. I mean, I like this. All this territory is just like controversial, whatever. But from the women's perspective, do you think they're happy with this sort of setup, or is it like just a
I don't think so. I don't
like
think
a
so.
kind of traumatized, frozen kind of state? They seem a bit frozen, and they kind of just in shutdown, and they're kind of just the men are maybe not in shutdown, but they're in sort of some sort of something higher up on the polyvagal ladder. Some maybe they're also in shutdown, but they're. It seems like women especially seem very frozen and just kind of getting swept along and high stress, but I don't know. Do you feel like they're not happy with the situation, or they want things to be different? Like what's going on in the typical woman's mind? You think?
Well, when they are young, yeah, they want to be popular among men, right? They want to be flattened. So they go along with men's narrative, right?
Yeah.
But you can only play a young little girl until certain age, like, I don't know, late 20s. After 30, if you start acting like that, you just appear to be stupid.
Yeah.
And then the men started treating you like, are you a mature woman, but you are stupid, right?
Yeah.
And then these women get into this struggle, right? So some of them develop the different personality, and men also start maturing as well,
Yeah.
understanding, this infatuation about this young girl kind of figure is only for the sexual subject, or let's say like a fling type of one night stand, kind of the fancy
Yeah.
subject. When they actually marry to somebody, you cannot marry a child,
Yeah. That doesn't work.
right?
Yeah.
You need to marry someone that can support each other. Then the maturity start happening, both side, men and women, right? And men get to the certain age, like mid-age, like late 40s and 50s, they no longer fascinated or attracted to their wives. Now they start looking for the younger ones again. That's called midlife crisis.
You talked earlier about how in like in Southeast Asia, people are, and I've noticed this too. Like one reason why I love Vietnam, especially, but a lot of the countries down there is, people are smiling and they're laughing and they're teasing each other. They're playing. It's very playful kind of atmosphere, and also their voice is more sing-songy, kind of up and down, and their faces moving, and you feel like they're alive, they're animated, and they're like it's like this real pure kind of communication going on. And like I guess you mentioned earlier that they children in some of these developing countries, they grow up with a larger social network with grandparents and parents, and even people, just strangers, but they're part of the family. It's like a larger community of like
Yeah.
it could be 100 people even, and we don't have that in Japan. And so the parent child relationship is a bit severed. The nervous systems aren't connected as the
Mm-hmm.
way they're supposed to be, and but that kind of goes on throughout the rest of their life too. So my question is, the nervous system affects our relationships and our communication, and we've talked about that with Japan. Have you noticed any sort of differences in relationships and how men and women connect with one another and date and all of this in, like, say, I don't know, these other countries you've been in? Like, does that original nurturing of the nervous system, how would you imagine that would affect our later on dating styles and communication styles and even work? We talked about that too.
Mm.
It's all hypothetical stuff. Probably is a hard question too.
It's hard question, because in West, to me, sometimes this excessive feminism is creating certain characteristic of feminine quality.
Yeah,
I spent some time in West, and this last 20, 30 years of development of feminism, originally that was very important, it was healthy, it was, you know, necessary. But that trend is start coming a little bit too much, I notice sometimes.
yeah,
And that's creating another dynamics between men and women in West.
yeah. Now you don't feel safe to act like a man. That's like you're forced to. If I act like a traditional man, then I get punished
Exactly.
or attacked or whatever. So I have to. That's actually one thing I like about Japan. I know I'm a man, so like you kind of want to feel biologically you sort of act in certain ways. You don't. I don't want to act like this. I don't want to act like a woman. I don't have what I mean. I don't want to act like all like it's still like gender stereotypes, but like men have to act a certain way, and in the West, it's like we're being subdued and like kind of disabled or something. We can't really act, and we can't release our natural instincts anymore because they're labeled as bad.
Exactly. And then I can see you are almost apologetic to just to say this.
I feel like I'm gonna get like the people are gonna come burn down my house or something, or I'm gonna get fired from my job somehow, or
Exactly.
I'm gonna die.
What kind of a sense of safety to be a man,
You can't even be
right?
even you have to apologize for being a man. Basically, if you're a white man, especially, you better just shut up and
Exactly.
don't say anything. You can't say anything. You're just like, And I wasn't like I don't know about all the history and stuff. Like I'm just like 36 years old. Like I didn't do nothing, but apparently you've been blamed for everything. And I go, oh, sorry, I don't know.
Exactly. I feel that in US or Europe, most strongly, of course, in US.
Yeah,
Like if you're a white man, a middle income background, you're like bad.
yeah.
You're responsible for all the bad things happen. That's one extreme, right? And that's I notice in the West, this the men and female dynamics, and making men feel weaker and has to be more neutralized somehow. I don't know. And Japan is not so much like that yet. The feminism didn't work in the same way in Japan than West. So a lot of men say Japanese women are feminine and then nice and all that kind of commentary, because we did not 100% adopted this Western feminism style or discourse, right?
Japan seems a bit like special in that case. But why is Japan like is it just slower to adapt to the rest of the world, or to be influenced by the rest of the world? But like it seems like a lot of the world is going in that direction. Is sort of this feminism is like coming up, and Japan seems like it's 1955. It doesn't matter. Like it feels like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Because very empowered, independent women, they leave Japan
Oh,
or they live by themselves. You know,
yeah.
they don't need men that feel like young kids, girls.
Well, the women don't fight back here, basically, but in the West, maybe it makes sense though, because basically everyone wants this sort of balanced, healthy, homeostatic nervous system. We want to feel calm and safe, and yeah, traditionally it makes sense. Like women were oppressed, and the men were the oppressors a lot of times. So maybe generationally, women sort of built this sort of like men were actually the enemy in some cases, but now all that stress and all that trauma is being released on all the men, and they've got to, I guess we've got to find healthier ways to release our trauma than just making labels on people and attacking groups, right?
Balance. It's a balance. The female are, a Japanese female are, they need to find their match.
Yeah.
If the majority of men like certain kind of women condition themselves to be that way without any awareness. Unless you leave Japan and experience another culture, you don't know what other alternatives are possible, right?
Right.
And there are, I hate these women, but a journalist was raped and then she claimed her case, and there are so much backlashes, and a lot of them are women doing that.
Wait, they're
You know, there are a lot of
wait. So she's what? Can you explain that story a bit? I'm trying to figure it out.
So this woman, she was allegedly raped by her senior,
Yeah.
and then she sued him. But this guy denied. He didn't do it. It wasn't consent.
Yeah.
But she was given alcohol with something mixed up, and then she lost conscious.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? And then she was claiming that was rape. Anyway, people who are criticizing her, a lot of them were women.
Yeah.
They are saying that she's promiscuous. So the women's enemy are women. Especially here, the certain group of women are still believe these traditional values. I'm not saying it's wrong.
Yeah.
But they are attacking other types of women who are more forthcoming, more open, more direct, more free. They think these are a threat to them. Promiscuous and...
Because you're different than them.
Yeah. And then largely in the society, male-dominant society, these women are not very appreciated as a woman. Okay, as a workforce, they're very intelligent, very strong, the leadership, yeah, fine. But as soon as, little bit of personality start emerging in a relationship, boom, not acceptable.
Yeah, there's the men are in charge. Women cannot challenge the man.
Yeah, and then the women who challenge men, they are outcasted.
You think it would blow up eventually? Eventually, like that trauma is going to have to be released because women must be feeling stress from that. There must be a lot of buildup of stress. the Japanese woman because she's not able to release that.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of interesting is some of these people will seek help, and they'll go to you and go do the trauma release exercises, and some people would never do that. They'd be like, no, no. Do you notice a kind of trend in openness towards helping yourself in different countries, not just Japan? Some people kind of come to you, and some people just will never come to you. Do you
Hmm.
notice a kind of trend in that? What type of person is going to be even open to being helped?
Um, my clientele is so diverse, right?
Yeah,
For example, in Vietnam, I mean, I'm a certification trainer. I'm training people to become a provider, right? So I
yeah,
often not directly helping the general public.
okay,
Okay, so there is this layer of understanding. I mean, the kind of people I deal with that are extremely traumatized, yeah, almost like pathological level, or people in the industry to serve others, like teachers or therapists or this kind of people. Do you understand what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So it's not from my work experience to answer this question, but generally speaking, any society, when there is a disharmony in the society, these individuals start seeking alternative way of living. Yeah. So
yeah.
this is same as DRE, but nervous system, if they cannot fight or flight in this situation, it will get to a certain point. Either they become sick or the nervous system, i.e. themselves, their instincts start searching alternative way of living. Okay. So in Japan, there is this man and woman couple. They're completely disconnected. Both are not happy, but they're not willing to change anything, the relationship. Yeah.
Yeah.
A man disconnect and then just obsessed with work and obsessed with, I don't know, a little bit of alcohol or whatever, whatever, whatever. And women start finding their own way of releasing whatever that is outside of the relationship, outside of marriage. And I don't know it's a happy or not happy. I don't want to judge that. But this is us, our human being, our nervous system. We don't just stay. Our life force is always try to find the way out of the certain situation. Yeah.
Right.
From coming from West, divorce is not a big deal. So, oh, if you're like that, why don't you get divorced? Right? Oh,
Yeah.
you're not having sex for 5 years. Why don't you get divorced?
Yeah.
Right? It's very simple for them to say that. But if the society, not only in Japan, but a lot of Asia, divorce is almost a stigmatization, then what do you do in that unhappiness? Each party starts finding the way. It's not perfect, but they always find the way. And that's how society develops, how the culture develops, how the human being evolves and develops. That's why we are not extinct, because our nervous system always find a way to survive.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not from actual releasing the energy, but oftentimes it's from distracting ourselves. And this
Exactly.
might be a reason why I've noticed that, like, I do some work in the virtual reality industry too, and I noticed that Japan has a huge like interest in virtual reality and in video games and in virtual worlds in general. You even hear these stories of people having like these I don't know, virtual girlfriends and stuff like this and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this is like another way to deal with your trauma, right? To kind of, it's not like a necessarily the long term most efficient way or healthiest way, but it helps you at least survive, right?
Exactly. That is their coping mechanism, right? And that's a mass dissociation happening here.
So aside from dissociation, what are some other ways that we deal with our trauma? One way is to hit it head on and actually shake and move and release the energy. One is dissociation. Are there other ways that we kind of deal with this trauma?
It's a very difficult question because these people have no awareness that they are traumatized. These people are
Yeah.
completely driven by this instinctual level and they think it's okay. And I think it's okay because who are we to say your way is wrong?
Yeah.
Eventually they become physically sick, they go to hospital, they realize they have to change something about their lives, right? But we really cannot go out and say, hey, what you're doing is not good, let's change it. I try to change whole world through humanitarian work, and I realize I
Right.
cannot change. I cannot even change one individual outside of myself. I used to work at the very top level of this world peace and all that, and then coming to this place of meditation and then the body work. And that's only because I can only change myself. And then the person who are willing to change themselves, they can change themselves. But that's all they can do.
Right.
And from this place, you
Yeah.
can only open the arm, and then people who want to be helped will come to me. People who still not realize they need help, in long term it's not healthy or no good, when they have no awareness in this moment, unless they're harmful to other human being, there is no way you can tell them to change.
But when you change yourself, like at least you're stopping, well, maybe not fully stopping because you're always going to be hurting somebody. It's hard not to hurt somebody, but you're going to be reducing the harm you're doing to people. Like we're going back to that parenting idea we're talking about where, the parent needs to be touching the child and smiling and taking care of them and giving these safe social cues, being emotionally and physically there for them, all of that. When like if for example I start talking in a really stressed out state because I didn't sleep last night, or like I got trauma or whatever, or I'm just stressed out, that's gonna spread to you. You're gonna feel stressed. If I've talked to some friend, he's complaining about stuff and he's freaking out, um, not judging him, but that's gonna spread to me and I'm gonna start getting more negative, and then that's gonna spread to you, and that's gonna spread to your husband, and it's all gonna be this big chain reaction. So if we kind of stop the fire within ourselves and sort of put that fire out, it seems like if enough people can do that, even if just one person can do that, that still might make 20 people's days better, or at least this 1 hour of conversation will be more healthy and will feel better. So, like, because our nervous systems are interconnected, we think that we are these separate beings, and we kind of are, but like on this subcortical level, on this in this body, we're transmitting energy between each other and stuff, right? And we're sending these signals, and we're like your nervous system, your facial cues, and your voice and my voice. It bounces back and forth, and it changes me. It might put me in fight flight mode. It might put me in. It might lift me up to this safe space because you're exhibiting this warm atmosphere or something. You're talking slower, all these different things, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's kind of cool how we kind of can magically help each other by not trying to help each other, but just by trying to help ourselves. And if we're in a safe, social, connected space, then like it calms down. I used to have these fights with my brother sometimes, me and my older brother. And I feel bad now because I didn't understand all of this before then. But, I was such a verbal, um, I was focusing on words, and I thought words were the thing. And I'd say this and I'd say that. And a lot of us are doing that. But then when you realize like how you're saying it, if you're talking and saying anything, but at the same time you're kind of angry or scared underneath, then that comes out, and that makes the other person angry and fighting, and you start fighting with each other, and you're like, you don't even know why you're fighting, but you're both not happy. You want to love each other, you want to connect, but when you're trying to connect, you end up fighting because neither one of you is starting the with yourself.
yeah,
You're waiting for it's just like it's a mess. So how can I guess it's more of a comment, but yeah, it's just magical how we can change other people by just changing ourselves,
exactly.
and how much we are connected with one another. It's
Yeah,
wild.
because if the other person is very activated, and if that activates you, it's your nervous system, it's you, right?
Yeah.
If the other person is activated, but you can stay grounded and calm from the ventral vagal, that frequency will calm their nervous system down eventually.
So when we encounter people who are angry, or they're yelling at us, or maybe they love us, but they're attacking us because they have to attack something. How can we? I guess you just pause and breathe or something. But how do you calm yourself down and therefore calm him or her down? What are some things you could do in that moment? Because it's hard.
But that's a question of boundaries. If your body feels the threat, you have to walk away. You
Yeah.
have to protect
Yeah.
yourself. You cannot pretend to be,
Just leave.
saint. Yeah, that's a self-sacrifice, and
Right.
that's not what I'm talking about. It's a question of boundaries, right?
So we should kind of like control who's in our life and not let everyone into our lives. And we should be careful with who we surround ourselves with and not just let anybody come in. And
Because if it's really harmful for you, right this moment, you have to protect yourself. That's normal,
yeah.
right?
And then that's another thing is now we judge people like that as being selfish or they don't love, we're so, at least in the West, we're so told to be like, not be selfish. And in Japan too, anywhere. And it's kind of hard to just ignore somebody. But I guess sometimes we have to just cut them off and just leave certain relationships.
Yeah, stay grounded, but set the boundaries.
Yeah.
That's it. This is very important. You cannot save others. Remember.
Dude, I'm exhausting you probably. I'm asking like every freaking thing I want to ask you. I'm just gonna make sure there's anything else like while you're here. How about language? I know we're like, dude, let's stop this. We gotta go. I know we'll go soon. Have you noticed like how language itself, like, is there any differences between just the language itself, like Japanese language? There's kanji, there's ways of talking, there's hierarchies, there's English that people talk differently in Thai. Is there anything about the language itself, the structure of the language itself, that might make it easier to connect with one another or harder to connect with one another? We can't say language is like this language is better, but some languages might have limitations and or things.
I think each language have this embedded code conditioning, and that's connected to this behavior, so-called culture, right? So if you are brought up in that culture, speaking that language, especially when you're younger, you're exposed to that social environment using that language, you naturally adapt that code of conduct as well, right? The behavior code.
Yeah, you understand the language fully and how it connects to culture and everything.
Yeah. As someone who studied language when you're grown up and just separating the language from social behavior and unspoken thing, then however you're fluent in that language, it's very difficult to 100% understand. I mean, I was brought up in Japan. It's my first language, but I wasn't exposed to Japanese adult culture because I left Japan when I was 18. Yeah. As soon as I finished high school, I left. So I'm not exposed to that adult, mature business kind of Japanese.
Yeah.
So for me, it's very difficult. My first adult language became English eventually. So for me, it's easier to speak in English and communicate to be able to express myself fully. When I'm speaking Japanese, always there's certain limitation, a certain hidden part of me. Yeah. But that's because I have a choice of different languages. But Japanese people only speak Japanese, and that's the only way for them to live and speak and express themselves. So they don't see any issue with that. But same in any languages.
Yeah. And then we're traveling a lot of times. We're talking to people. Nowadays, we have to have intercultural communication. And you've been living in different places and you realize like communication is going to be different in each of these places. Like, what are some things people can do to improve their intercultural communication? Of course, they're not going to know the language, but they just have to behave. There has to be some sort of nervous system kind of communication going on. What can people do to connect better with people who are apparently different than them? Because we do share a lot of our mammalian and human things. That's like basically the same. So like knowing your understanding of the nervous system and all this trauma release stuff and all of that, what can people like, say a Japanese person who's traveling to the US or to Thailand, what kind of advice would you have for them to just improve their communication and be able to get along even if they don't speak English? Is there any kind of things we could do with that?
If you don't feel safe in a certain places, it might be coming from your filters, your neuroceptions, right? Because you are not used to these people with this kind of color. For example, black people or, whatever, the color of the skin or the size of the body.
Yeah.
Or tone of voice, because
Right.
like South American, they talk a lot, right? Like Chinese, they talk a lot. And that's sometimes a little bit overwhelming to Japanese, right? So that changed their neuroceptions, the sense of safety, it's not safe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So having this understanding of neurology really help us to reassess what we are feeling is true or it's come from our filters and our background. And this really challenges our perspective about judging other culture and other people, other people's behavior. It's not only abroad, but this interhuman relationship.
Yeah.
Why people behave this way? This is bad. He's horrible. But is that behavior is normal for this people or this group of people? It's not rude or it's not bad. It's just you feel that way.
Yeah.
So what you challenge, not them, it's your perceptions. At the same time, be kind and be compassionate with your own senses because this is intrinsic, it's your instinct. Okay, from my culture, from my upbringing, I don't feel this is safe. Okay, I understand. It's not their fault, it's not my fault. What can I do about this? Shall I move away from this? Or get closer bit by bit? Yeah, it requires intelligence, not just body, of course. Yeah, but you cannot change that perception overnight. But understanding that, having this intelligence to understand what's going on, I think it reduces this unnecessary judgment of others.
So like the more we can, when we first encounter somebody or anytime we're talking to someone, it's almost going to be better most times if we start bottom up with the communication. Like look at someone,
Yes.
don't first just judge them from here, from your forebrain. Don't judge them whether good or bad, because that's all coming from up here, like good and bad and stupid and smart. And then also the words they're using.
And you.
Like that, we got to look at that. We got to look at listen to the words, but first look at, okay, what nervous system state is this person in? And what state am I in? What am I in? What are they in? That's the basis. That's like 90% of the communication is my nervous system talking to this nervous system. We can deal with the words. We can deal with all that stuff, that human stuff later. But first, let's let these animals communicate and look at that. Where am I? Where are they? And then that makes it so much easier. You're like, dude, he's not mad at me. He doesn't mean that. He's stressed. He's this or that, and that I found that to be kind of really useful. It's like, whoa, it's much simpler than basically we're screaming at each other, help me, get away from me. And it's like a few basic animal, communications that we're doing, but the words are like up there, but we're focusing on the words, but that's not what's going on. The words are just there usually, and they're like extra icing on the cake. And we got to start with the body and then move up and start looking at what is being said through the brain later on.
Yes, and more importantly, what you're feeling.
Yeah.
Instead of, oh, they're stressed, we have to understand. No. You.
Where are you?
You're not feeling safe. Okay, I'm not feeling safe. It's okay that I don't feel safe, but it doesn't mean they're bad people. I'm just not feeling safe. Okay, where do I move from here? I feel uncomfortable. Without judging them, offending them, so I just move back a little bit. Do I feel safe? If I do one step distance, do I feel safer? Yeah, because it's so easy to just say, okay, very compassionate, kind people. Oh, they're not bad. It's about them. It's about you. It's always that. It's from you. If you don't feel comfortable, it's okay that way. But don't judge them. It's not their fault. It's your perception. It's your nervous system. It's your past. That makes you see what you see, but it doesn't mean it's real.
Yeah.
Having that little room to move out a little bit. Okay, it's too close. I don't feel safe. Okay, one step behind. Okay, how do I feel? Okay, from here I feel safe that I can really hear what he's saying. Do you understand?
Yeah.
It's very subtle, but it's starting from you because they're not going to change. They talk exactly how they talk. Stressed today or not stressed today, that's what they are.
Yeah.
Right? Not judging is important, but it's really noticing you.
So we just have to practice, like, because we're so disassociated from our feelings and from our body, we just have to, like, slowly, day by day, start to do little exercises and just listen to our body and slowly build this awareness
without judging you.
Just feel it and be like, oh, this is it. I'm okay with being an animal. I'm okay in my body, and my body's not bad, or my body's not whatever, and you just like, oh, and you start to build this trust with your own body, and then when you go out into the world of objects and people, then your body will tell you things, and you'll be doing things, and you'll be able to, oh, like you'll know where it is. But otherwise, I think we just forget about the body. So
Yeah.
how do we just train, we just kind of just bit by bit start listening to our body and
Yeah.
getting more in touch with it.
Feel your body, feel your senses, don't judge it. Doesn't mean it's true. Knowing always involve your neocortex. It doesn't mean it's real how you're feeling. They're not bad people. It's not dangerous. But your nervous system is feeling that way. That is truth.
Yeah.
And respect that. Okay.
Nowadays, things like all these supposed mental illnesses, or their body illnesses, I would say, but ADHD and schizophrenia and bipolar and all of these things, even Alzheimer's and all these things, seem to be like sharply on the rise. There are a lot of reasons for this, probably, but do you think that trauma or the bodily trapping of energy is playing any role in this? How is this sort of bodily tension, this physical trauma connected to the what we're calling mental illness and disorders these days?
I mean, I cannot comment on all mental health disorders because I'm not a psychiatrist, right?
Yeah, of course.
But there's so many people diagnosed. I mean, if you don't feel well and you go to hospital, and then the normal physical clinic cannot diagnose with anything, they send you to, okay, go and try mental health, check your mental health. It could be stress, it's emotion, maybe, so a lot of people are taking medications and then antidepressant and things like that, purely because they don't know what else they're wrong. They just don't feel well. Yeah. Those are clearly labeled pathologies as schizophrenia. And they say, I don't want to comment on it because I don't have expertise on that.
Yeah, I know.
But
Yeah, yeah.
generally speaking, people go to those mental health clinic and take medication without knowing what exactly wrong with them. And I think a lot of the time, stress and underlying trauma from their childhood. Because people who had experienced severe traumatic event or traumatic childhood over a period of time, they are much more vulnerable and prone to mental illnesses or mental health issues when they grow up. So,
Yeah.
in this sense, I can say yes to your question.
Okay. And you're based in Yamanashi, or where are you?
Yes, I'm in Yamanashi.
I have a lot of listeners in Japan, actually, in Tokyo and in Kansai, and not a lot, but relatively speaking. And so some of the people might actually want to, get in touch with you or your trainers. I mean, I'm even thinking about getting TRE certified. I got to look at all the details of it. What can people do if they want to get in contact with you or just learn more about TRE? I know there's lots of good YouTube videos and stuff, and there's books, but how can they connect with you? How can they try all this, learn about it? Yeah, give us some resources.
One, I have a website, www.saekani.com/English, which is an English website. They can write to me and I can refer them to the right people in the right locations. Okay?
Because it's all over the world, right? There's a global, whole
Yes.
global network.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. If you're not in Japan, you can contact www.treforall.com. That's a global website.
Okay.
And you can find provider through this website anywhere in the world.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you want to be certified to be able to teach TRE to others, you can contact me. And I am running a certification program in Japanese and English as well. So if you're an English speaker and if you want to be certified in English, then you can contact me and then I can give you information.
What are the benefits of becoming certified? Like, if I get certified, what can I do after that, or what do people typically do after getting certified?
So if you are certified to become a provider, you can teach TRE officially to people and charge people.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you cannot teach others.
It's kind of dangerous too, right? Because it's a whole, it's
Exactly.
dealing with people's traumas and their bodies and everything, right?
Exactly. So it depends, they want to learn it for their own interest and then just want to teach their friends and families without charging. That's okay. If you're already working in the interpersonal jobs, then you want to use TRE to help your client. Obviously, this is the way.
Yeah.
So
And overall, it does connect back to your humanitarian background because TRA, unlike a lot of these other treatments, is almost free. It's very cheap for people, and also it's not a subscription model. Now with like say pharmaceuticals, you have to keep buying the medicine for your whole life and keep paying, and you can't help yourself. But with TRE, it's like once one person learns, they can teach someone else, and they can teach someone else. I even noticed I saw that you were in Vietnam and you were teaching these people there, and now they've set up their own groups. And wow, that's cool. So we're talking
exactly.
about how to help
Yeah.
people is maybe just teach people, teach one person at a time, and heal yourself too, and take care of your own system.
Yeah. And then you can teach group as well.
Yeah,
You can do the group session. You can do up to 5 6 people you can teach. And it's a self-help tool. It's not a clinical therapy tool.
yeah,
If you're a therapist, then use it in that setting, that's fine. But it is developed as self-help tool for the people in developing countries, how Dr. Berselli first developed, right?
yeah,
So the low resource country. So they can community collectively can help themselves to overcome trauma. And they shake together and they use DRE. So that was original model.
yeah,
So like you said, this is really a wonderful tool, the self-help tool, in the connection with community and then the groups together.
yeah,
It's like a peer-to-peer model.
yeah. The parents can help their family. The family can help their community. It's more of like a self-help and kind of community help thing,
Exactly.
not being directly tied to this larger corporate structures or any of that. It's just your own like affordable, convenient self-help kind of tool. Well, thank you so much for this super long time. I feel like I just abused you or something. Like you're gonna be all traumatized. Like I just got carried away. Like even towards the end, it's like I just wanted to keep talking to you. Like I actually probably exhausted most of my questions like 40 minutes ago, and people probably stopped listening like 40 minutes ago. Like, okay, is he ever gonna stop? But I was just like, I was asking all these questions, and but there got a point where I was just enjoying kind of like talking to you. So I was like, it's like when you're talking to your friend and you know it's time to go, and you're like, you just keep talking and you're not talking about anything.
Yeah, you still want to
And I was
keep
kind of
going.
getting there. So thank you for putting up with my eagerness to stay here and for answering all my questions. I hope
No
I didn't
problem.
put you in a fight flight mode too much and any of that.
No, not at all.
uh, anyway,
I enjoyed talking.
yeah, and I've been talking to another TRE provider too. I think he's in the U.S. and I'm gonna do an interview with him too, and some other people. This is a cool topic, and I think it's good that you're doing it. And then I hope more of the world gets awareness of this because it's just such a simple, cool little trick that like I don't know why it's not known more. I guess it's just it doesn't make the companies money, so it makes sense. But
But this morning I was just talking to the some HR in a big corporate,
yeah,
and she's teaching TRE to their employees just as the stress releasing.
that's great.
That's also really, and it's team building,
Yeah,
because when all of them becoming less
yeah,
competitive and fight or flight, the team operates better. Yeah. So there's so many ways to use TRE.
yeah. Thank you so much for your super. You gave me your whole day
No.
basically. I feel a bit guilty. I feel guilty actually. I'm like, God, I just abused you.
No, don't feel guilty. No, it was really nice. I mean, your questions are very genuine. I can totally relate to someone who lived in Japan 10 years and they still have a lot of questions and why. And I think normal Japanese people cannot answer to these questions. So,
And I felt a bit guilty there too because I thought like I don't want you to think I hate Japan or that
no, no,
it's
no, no.
anybody's fault or
No, not at
anything.
all. You know how I answer this.
Yeah, just like it's curious.
Because I know so many different culture and I'm very critical of my own culture too. So
Okay, actually, I have one last question. I know we got to go, but I've listened to you talk before, and you're talking about fragility, and we did touch on this before. But some cultures and some people are more fragile. They're more sensitive to incoming threats, and they get rattled by this. They get traumatized by this. How can we become, using the words of Nicholas Nassim Taleb about becoming anti-fragile? How can we become more anti-fragile? How can we become more like protected against becoming traumatized? Hard question, but I want to decrease my own fragility, and I see these Japanese people, they seem so fragile. I'm worried about when they go travel overseas and they're entering the real world and they're gonna get like really traumatized. How can Japanese people, or how can anybody, just sort of make themselves more resilient and anti-fragile? And that's the last question. I promise, and then we'll go.
It's a very difficult question. The reason why they're fragile
Yeah.
is because they have some kind of unfinished trauma in the background.
Yeah.
That's why their alarm is so sensitive. Okay?
Yeah.
So knowing that, you work with your own history first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And don't judge yourself to be fragile. And this very oversensitive nervous system is acting that way so that they can protect you. So it's your protection. So you should be grateful for that first.
It's keeping you safe.
And knowing that, keeping you safe. Okay. And don't undermine that. All right. So understanding this concept, you have, well, if I use that fire alarm again, your fire alarm is too sensitive. Okay. So one thing is you can try not to create the smoke for your cooking, or when it's ring, it's not real emergency. You don't have to panic. Yeah. Okay. It happened again. Bring your chair, stand up on it, and turn it off. Yeah. So it's like that. It's nothing you can change overnight because this is your basic survival tool embedded in your system. But when it's alarming, knowing that it may not be real threat, let's not judge it. Let's not get panic. Just breathe and then just to see, is it really a danger?
Yeah, so you can retune your body, retune the fire alarm, but also slowly try to change your situation, try to change your environment, and get less smoke.
Yes.
And so these two different approaches, and just being aware of the situation and realize, hey, this fire alarm is trying to save me. This smoke is here. What are we going to do about it? But this is a reality.
Yeah.
And gradually fine tune it.
And slowly start connecting with others.
Yeah.
Which makes you feel safe. First of all, you meet other people, you don't feel so safe because the false alarm. Remember, it's false alarm. Okay? And then slowly getting used to finding moment by moment what makes your body feel safe. Accumulate that physical experience of what it's like to feel safe. What is comfort for you with others? So exposing yourself bit by bit to that kind of environment, finding a little moment of joy to connecting with others, to be able to trust your body can trust other humans. Accumulating that experience, you eventually realize you can go any country and anywhere in the world, and then all humans are same.
So we start just taking leaps of faith and trusting people, and even though it might not come back to us
day to day.
They might not, like that. You might scratch the monkey's back, but the monkey doesn't scratch you back, or you try to help and they ignore you, and it doesn't always go the way. But just trying to get in the habit of being nice to people and helping people and trusting people, even though, and just recognizing they're not always going to give you that trust back, but just by taking that kind of leap of jumping into that land of trusting people more and more as a habit, then the more people will start to trust us, and through that mutual trust, we'll start to feel safe and feel together.
Based on your nervous system.
Yeah.
Based on your nervous system. It's not from the head.
Yeah.
Not because you should be kind.
Yeah.
Because your body feels safe. You make the other feel safe with you.
Right. But we can't trust everybody. We can't give everyone our trust because then that's dangerous, right? So we have to sort of listen to our nervous system and say, this person's safe, this person's dangerous, and trust that nervous system because that is going to protect us. But also realize that
maybe false alarm.
It might be false alarm. The head might be kind of creating a little illusion for ourselves.
Yeah, give a little chance.
Yeah.
Just one step forward and see. If you don't like, you can always get back.
Yeah, I do. Thank you so much. And you got to go. I got to go. Thank you so much. And see you next time.
Thank you. Well, we keep in touch and let me know if I can do anything else for you.
TRE is a place to be. David Griselli, the real OG. Help my body, mind, and community. Shake, rattle, and roll. Talk to Sae Kani. Go to her website, www.saekani.com. TRE for all, or YOUTUBE.